Hey guys, Prince of Macedon here, and as the title says, I'm going to be talking about movies, TV shows, and a few documentaries that will help put you in the mood for playing Rome Total War or Barbarian Invasion. Before I do that, I do want to start off by talking about this. This is the coldest water made by a local Florida company, and it's designed to keep your drinks cold for a very extended amount of time. So I actually left this in my car the other day when I went to the Magic Kingdom, and when I came back, my water was still freezing cold, even though it was over 100 degrees outside. So you gotta pack this thing with ice, and then you gotta load it with water, of course. This is really cool. So yeah, there's already ice inside. You can hear the ice cracking. I want to make sure I don't overflow it really quick. But yeah, I've got two links in my video description. The first link that you see is going to be for a chance of a giveaway. The second link will take you to the Coldest Water website where you can buy a product from Coldest Water. And if you use my promo code Macedon, then you can get 10% off on your discount. And I want to thank everyone who's been ordering, because I do get emails whenever people order a product, and you can see my ice is kind of poking out right now. This might it's leaking. I put a little too much, so let that be told. Don't put too much ice or it's gonna leak. Let me go ahead and drink this. Oh. Wait. Good excuse to drink water. Alright, so let's get into my thing. Oh, before I continue, look at that custom Prince of Macedon thing on my side. Alright, let's get to it, guys. Movies and TV shows to get you in the mood for playing Rome Total War Barbarian Invasion. Something you guys don't know about me. There are times where I'm not really in the mood to play Rome Total War Barbarian Invasion, but if I watch some of these TV shows or movies, it'll not only help me get me in the mood for Rome Total War or Barbarian Invasion, it'll also help me get me in the mood for a particular faction. I'll bring that up in a second. So let's go ahead and knock out a few documentaries here. These are just a few, and I'm sorry to say, these are pretty much Alexander the Great centric. There's just so many more documentaries out there, but these are some of my favorites. This one was featured on the History Channel called The True Story of Alexander the Great. This one runs for 150 minutes. I remember it being pretty entertaining, pretty solid. I love this one. It's called Alexander the Great and the Catapult. And this talks about Alexander's siege of Tyre. And that was a very intense naval siege battle. And I highly recommend this one. Highly recommend it. If you can't find it on, like, in a solid form, like a disc form, I'm sure you can find it somewhere online. Ancient Greece, Gods and Battles. This runs you through several battles. This is another documentary-ish. So it's got quite a few things on here. You got The Last Stand of the 300, Marathon, Thermopylae, Troy, Judgment Day at Marathon. That was a pretty good one. But my favorite was Battles BC, Lord of War. And that talks about Alexander the Great and his battle at the Hydaspes, where he had to cross a river in a raging storm, and he used all kinds of subterfuge and deception and maneuvering and feints to outthink and finally outfight his opponent, King Porus. That was definitely my favorite battle of Alexander the Great, and this documentary does a pretty good job of condensing that battle. And this one is a spiritual documentary for me. It's hosted by Michael Wood, and I'm standing on the water I just dripped. But it's hosted by Michael Wood, who also did In Search of the Trojan War or In Search of Troy. Same style. This guy visits a lot of the locations that Alexander the Great visited, all the way from Greece out to Afghanistan. And then he listens to the local folk tales about Alexander the Great. And again, this is a spiritual thing for me. So to get in the mood for Alexander the Great, I love watching this one. This is definitely probably my favorite documentary of all time. And it's more of a spiritual documentary. Because again, he traces those footsteps, and it just brings me close to Alexander the Great. I freaking love it. Alright, so let's talk about some of the TV shows and movies now. that helps get me in the mood. And I didn't really organize these into any particular setup here. Okay, so you guys know the 300 movies here. These were based on comics, which were based on historical incidents. So highly over glamorized and whatnot, exaggerated battle sequences, but it gives you that sense of courage that King Leonidas displayed at Thermopylae. And while the Battle of Thermopylae was going on, you had this naval battle happening at around the same time as the Battle of Thermopylae. And in terms of antiquity, ancient times, I can't really think of many other movies that shows naval warfare, except for kind of Ben-Hur, which I'll mention later on. But these are both great movies, and I love to focus on the leaders of these battles, because I think they're very inspiring. If you're going to play Roman Total War, you should be inspired in terms of leadership and courage and all that good stuff. Okay, I've got two different versions of Alexander the movie, where Alexander the Great. So this is the old school one starring Richard Burton. I'm going to tell you right now, the costumes are cheesy, the battles are cheesy, but the dialogue is really good. There's a quote in there where Alexander the Great says, only a king can kill a king, because there's a Persian who kills the Persian king. And then Alexander gets up to the Persian's face and goes, only a king can beat a king. And then he slays them. Because that honor should have went to Alexander the Great. So get this for the dialogue, not for the costumes and battle sequences. They are cheesy. Now, if you want great costumes and battle sequences, Alexander. The Ultimate Cut is one of my favorites, but I also like Alexander Revisited. The director, Oliver Stone, made, I think, 5 or 4 different edits of this movie. This is definitely one of my favorite ones, though, the Ultimate Cut. Now, this movie is not perfect. It's definitely not perfect, but it's still one of my favorite. Actually, it is my favorite movie of all time. And in terms of battles, it glosses over Gaugamela and the Hydaspes. Hydaspes is not even close to being accurately portrayed. But if you want to see the Hydaspes battle, then watch the Battles BC Lords of War Alexander, which I just showed over there somewhere. But this is my favorite. This one also connects me to Alexander the Great. I think Colin Farrell did a pretty good job of bringing Alexander's character to life. Not every bit of his portrayals might not agree with everybody, but I think overall Colin Farrell did a great job, and so did the rest of the cast and director. Okay, this one's kind of a docudrama, so I'm not going to call it a documentary, but they basically focuses on historical leaders and brings them to life. But I would say this is more of a show than a documentary or docu-series. Anyways, the reason why I got this is mainly for Hannibal. There is a fantastic show about about Hannibal, and it's the best portrayal of Hannibal you'll see on video. And it stars Alexander Siddig. I don't see his name here, but I think it's Alexander Siddig. He was on Deep Space Nine, the Dr. Bashir. Great. If you're gonna buy this, buy it just for Hannibal. But there's some other great shows on there too, but mainly for Hannibal. Okay, what to do next here? Let's dive into the mythological fantasy inspirations for me for playing Roll to the War. So we got a ton here. Some of these have some basis in history, the others don't. So we have Clash of the Titans, Wrath of the Titans, Clash of the Titans. So this one is very old school. You might get bored with it, but it's iconic though. This comes from the what's his name? Is it Harryhausen? Yeah, Harryhausen. It's got that very famous stop motion feature where he's battling these skeletons who are animated in stop motion. It's pretty good, but I prefer these. Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans. They're not the greatest movies. These are definitely like popcorn movies, but I like that it brings the story of Perseus to life, and it's pretty good. I love Liam Neeson and Ray Fiennes. Wait, is it Ralph Fiennes? It's Ralph Fiennes. I love the portrayal of the Greek gods, and it's just a fun thing. But again, it's not very accurate. None of these shows or movies are pretty accurate. Like any TV show or movie, they are never going to be 100% accurate, if even close to that. Fantasy. But the Greeks, they did, back in the day, they took a lot of inspiration from their stories, these fantasy stories. Like Alexander the Great, he himself, he claimed lineage to Hercules and Achilles. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so here you go. Helen of Troy, which is based on a historical thing about the Trojan War. So these are kind of connected, but this one, the Odyssey, that one definitely features a lot of mythological events. But the Odyssey is based on Odysseus, and you can see a lot of these players in Helen of Troy and Troy. Troy is a bit more grounded in reality, somewhat, and it definitely veers a lot from the actual story of the Trojan War. For example, this one shows Achilles entering the city of Troy. He never made it inside there. But I love Brad Pitt as Achilles. He did such a great job. I was ready to hate this movie so much, but I loved it. And again, this will inspire you to be more brave on the battlefield. You can take more bold action. Helen of Troy, this is a miniseries. I think it's a Hallmark? Well, it's definitely made for TV. I love the portrayal of Helen by this girl. Great stuff. Here's some more fantasy things. Now, don't hate me on this, guys, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Hercules, he did a fantastic job. He doesn't strike me as what Hercules might have looked like based on the descriptions, but this movie was so fun. And Dwayne Johnson, like, he does have the massive presence to portray a larger than life figure as Hercules. But all kinds of good stuff. This is another popcorn movie. And we got some more mythological ones. Jason and the Argonauts here. Oh, sorry, I said the other one. This is Jason and the Argonauts is the one with the stop motion skeleton battle. Yeah, see? I'm sorry. I completely messed that up. And then Hallmark made their own version of Jason and the Argonauts, but it was actually pretty darn good. This one's a fantasy here. It's called Cyclops. So story here, this is Greece during the under control of the Romans. So one of the Romans is sentenced to be, I'm not sure what he's sentenced for, but he ends up having to fight the Cyclops. And it's fun watching. It's basically a monster movie, but featured during Roman times. It's kind of bizarre, but just for the novelty of it, I included that in this list of things to inspire me. There's a lot of times that I'm playing online, a lot of my the people I'm playing I consider to be like monsters. It's like, these cannot be real people. They must be monsters. Okay, if you like Celtic things, here's a few things. So Vercingetorix, this is a very cheesy show, but it's the only show or movie I know of that actually focuses on Vercingetorix. Like, I know his character appears on other shows, mainly about Caesar, but this one focuses on Vercingetorix. This is the guy who fought against Julius Caesar when Caesar marched into Gaul to claim it, and Caesar wrote his commentaries on that, on his Gallic campaigns. But Christopher Lambert from The Highlander plays Vercingetorix. It's so cheesy, but I love it. It's another novel show. Now, this one focuses on Britannia during Roman occupation, and I love it. Oh, it's set in the year 400 AD. It's got fantasy elements, but I think it does a good job of showing that Celtic spirit of, like freedom and whatnot. But it stars Heath Ledger. Bless his soul, he did pass away way too young. All right, I am running out of time already here. Okay, so Ben-Hur, starring Charlton Heston, and then there was a more modern version of Ben-Hur that came out. This talks about a local Jew, and this is under Roman occupation. He becomes a slave because his sister does something that the Romans blamed him for. He takes the blame for it, and then he ends up a slave, and then he ends up on a Roman ship as a slave, rowing the boat, And then he ends up as a famous charioteer. And that's all portrayed very well in the Charlton Heston version and also the more recent version. This also shows a bit of naval warfare in antiquity, and so does the other one. What I like about the remake of Ben-Hur, there's a really cool scene where the Romans are marching into Ben-Hur's town, and they're chanting some Roman marches, and it's pretty sweet. So this is also a very good classic, and I love Charlton Heston. Hallmark made the show about Cleopatra, starring Billy Zane, Timothy Dalton, and Leonora Farella. Because it's made for TV, it's kind of low budget, but I did like Timothy Dalton as Caesar. One of the all-time classics about Cleopatra, Richard Burton returns this time as, is it Caesar or Anthony? Hold on. He comes back as, it should be Caesar, I think. Wait, Anthony. Wait. Hold on. He comes back as Antony. Caesar's played by the other guy here, Rex Harrison. I love Elizabeth Taylor as Cleopatra. She is beautiful, and she did a pretty good job of portraying Cleopatra on screen. And there's a cool scene where they show Alexander the Great's clear tomb as they're visiting Alexander the Great's body. Because back in the day, Alexander the Great was kind of a tourist attraction, and a lot of famous Romans came to visit it to be inspired by that. But this is a pretty good portrayal of Cleopatra's relationship with Antony. Julius Caesar, this is made for TV, so costumes are pretty bad, battles are pretty bad, but it's got Jeremy Sisto as Caesar, Christopher Walken, he's somehow in this movie, he's one of the senators. Reason why I like this one is Jeremy Sisto as Caesar. Everything else about this movie I didn't really like, but Jeremy Sisto as a young Caesar, he was fantastic. And this one also shows Vercingetorix a little bit, but the focus of the show is not on Vercingetorix. Okay, this TV show, this one's the second season, but HBO's Rome, I also have the first season. I got to visit the film studios in Rome, Italy at Cinecittà Studios, and I got to see some of the sets that they used for that show. But this is easily the best portrayal of that time period with Caesar, Antony, Crassus, Octavian, and I don't remember the guy's name, but he plays Julius Caesar. That is my favorite portrayal of Julius Caesar ever. He plays a very dignified Caesar, very calm, but you can still see he has that menace behind his blank expressions. He is a fantastic Julius Caesar, and if you're just going to watch one thing about that, HBO's Rome is the greatest, and it's got a great budget too. Kind of connected to that, BBC made a show called I, Claudius. Now, this has very stage-like production values, so very limited sets and whatnot, but the acting is top of the notch. The script is top notch, and this would take place a little bit after HBO's Rome, but they're not connected. But in history, they are connected. And I love Claudius. He kind of reminds me of myself because he does stutter, and I don't know if you know this about me, but I do have a stuttering problem. You can catch me doing it at certain times. It's one of my see, I just stuttered. One of my defects. Another great TV show to watch, guys. On Starz, they had the Spartacus series. Now, Spartacus, the TV series on Starz, it had the cinematography of 300. So if you didn't like that over-stylized cinematography of 300, you might not like this. But if you do, you're going to love this. And I love the awesome camaraderie on display here. A bunch of tough guys, tough women too, showing a lot of bravery in the face of injustice. You guys know the story of Spartacus. I won't get into it. Speaking of Spartacus, can't go wrong with the Kirk Douglas Spartacus, very classic. And then Goran Visnich also did a good portrayal of Spartacus, but I like this version of Spartacus mainly for the portrayal of Crassus, portrayed by Angus MacFadyen. He was in Braveheart. I love that. I didn't like him as much as the other Caesars, but I liked this version of wait, was it Crassus? Wait, no, sorry, it wasn't Crassus. He portrays the guy trying to chase after Spartacus. I'm already forgetting the names. Hold on. My voice, it's dying right now. Oh, thank you, Coldest Water, for providing this. Remember, guys, go to the video description if you want to buy this bottle with my 10% discount. Promo code is Macedon. Just type that into the promo code. Got a few more shows to show you. This is kind of like Spartacus, Gladiator. And so are these, actually. These all show arena combat. So they're similar to Spartacus. But Gladiator is probably the best of the bunch here. It's a historical epic set in Roman times. Russell Crowe plays a Roman commander who is backstabbed, betrayed, all that terrible stuff. And he gets his own revenge at the end. But this is set during the time of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor of Rome. One of the greatest, actually, this is the best portrayal of the disaster of Mount Vesuvius erupting near Pompeii and all the other outlying areas. You might not enjoy the love story. I enjoyed it all. This is a popcorn movie up until it gets to the disaster, because this is an actual disaster that affected real people. So it's never funny when that stuff happens, but this is the great portrayal of that disaster. You can see the volcano ashes coming, people getting burned, and it's terrifying, guys. Imagine it happening. It still happens today, guys. There was a big volcanic eruption in the Philippines not too long ago. This one's made for, I believe it's made for TV. Peter O'Toole, Peter Strauss, these are opposing commanders. This is when these zealots take refuge on a mountain stronghold. They don't think the Romans are going to come, but Peter O'Toole, he takes his sweet time building up a little siege ramp, and then they eventually lay siege to these people. And this is based on a historical incident. So for those siege battles that you play in Rome Total War, this is some pretty good inspiration. Then I got some late period Roman films. This one's pretty cool. This takes place in Roman-occupied Egypt, and this is at a time when the Christians and the pagans are going at it. But it focuses on a Hellenistic mathematician played by Rachel Weisz from the Mummy series, and it's interesting because a lot of people forget that Christians and pagans, they didn't always get along, and this is a very strong reminder of that. Now, this is more Barbarian Invasion period. King Arthur, if you watch this one, you can see the Germanic tribes marching into Britain, and then you still have some Romans and Roman satellite auxiliaries defending Britannia against these German marauders. So I love the costumes in this, because you get that late period Roman armor in it, and it's pretty sweet. And then you see some pretty strong performances by the what's his face, Stellan Skarsgård as the Germanic opposing commander. Centurion. This also takes place, I believe, in Britain. I think. Wait, hold on. Okay, it's somewhere in the Roman frontier, and yeah, we got the Picts chasing after this Roman, and he's basically on foot, sometimes horseback, as he's trying to get away from these quote-unquote barbarians. I love this, and this is the first movie I've seen that had Michael Fassbender. Great thing. Attila, made for TV, but it stars Gerard Butler as Attila, and I loved what's his face? Where is he at? Powers Booth as the Roman commander who opposes Attila. Was it Aetius? Flavius Aetius. So it's got low production values just because it's made for TV. But it's fun, and I like these shows that focuses on Attila. There aren't many of those guys. And finally, this is the last one I'm going to show here. This is called The Last Legion. This is definitely a goofy movie. This is just a really goofy movie, but it takes place in late Roman times, something you don't see too much in movies. And you also see, it's set in that time period, like with the Byzantines. and the Western Romans. So it's cool just to see that on screen. But again, this is a really goofy movie. As a movie itself, it's kind of blah. So I just went through a lot of those shows for you guys because people used to ask me, "Hey, what are your favorite shows to watch? Favorite movies to watch for the time period?" Not all these are time period specific movies. I forgot to mention, you know how Egypt is portrayed in Rome Total War? It's completely the wrong time period for the Egyptians. So if you want something to get you in the mood to play as Egypt, I'm going to recommend the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston and what's that guy's name? The bald guy. Yul Brynner as the Pharaoh. That will inspire you to control Egypt, control those CWB Egypt skirmish armies. And then another good one, same story basically, but the Prince of Egypt. Prince of Egypt, I'm the Prince of Macedon. Prince of Egypt it's a cartoon, and it's got really good songs in it. But it's that time period that the Egyptians are shown visually in Rome Total War. So yeah, a lot of these movies it'll maybe get you in the mood. They always get me in the mood to play Rome Total War. So maybe I'm gonna sit down and watch some, I don't know, Alexander maybe. I don't know. I did watch that recently because Alexander the Great's birthday was on July 20. So maybe I'll go back and watch that again. But I think in my next vlog like this, that's connected to Rome Total War, I might cover some books that will inspire you to play Rome Total War and learn more about the history that Rome Total War is based upon. Anyways, put your comments in the description. And again, if you want this a cool bottle like I have, check out the links in the description. And there is an option where I believe you can try to customize your own bottle. But when Coldest Water sent me this bottle, they already customized it for me. It's got the YouTube play button and it's got my name on it. So that's pretty cool. I want to thank Coldest Water for sending that to me. All right, thanks for watching this freaking long video.